All right, folks, this is Ketter with Cardhoarder Prime, bringing you a little latency period special, some blue-red Drake and Pauper. So I am a big Pauper fan. I think the format's great. I think a lot of people would really have a great time with it. And I get a chance to kind of show off the hot deck of the format right now. So openly admitting this is my first time with the deck. But that's kind of what I'm wanting to show off to some folks is the power level of basically what this bad boy does. All right, so looks like we're dealing with mono red deck, possibly. Not really sure due to my lack of... Okay, so we're dealing with burn here. This is typically what I think is a good matchup. While they are going to... and I say it's a good matchup just in theory. They're going to be spending a lot of cards trying to deplete our life total as quickly as possible, but their card advantage is not exactly present. I do like the Valley Dasher out of them. Definitely had my fun with Valley Dasher in some limited formats, and that is a perfect draw. So let's bolt the dude and, bolt the creature. Pass it back. From here, from my understanding with this deck, all we're going to be doing is playing kind of the control game until we get to a point where our opponent just doesn't, well, in this case, runs out of gas, and then we just get to take over the game with Drake plus Mnemonic Wall in a infinite mana combination with the Ghostly Flickers that we have. This current hand is not fantastic. There's the trademark card, and let's just pass it here. In this matchup, from my understanding, I'll be saving my counter, I think I'll want to save my counter spells for the really high damage output creatures. Goblin Cohort doesn't seem like something I'm terribly concerned about. I am about to rip a very, very interesting sneeze here. So 3 cards in hand. Chicago. So I'm actually going to counterspell this. My thought behind that is I eventually do have the Firebolt. Counterspell is not really an efficient card in this matchup. It's almost always trading down, so I'm happy to get a creature with it. And we'll just draw another one because that's how we roll. So anyway, going back to what the combo will eventually set itself up for. We'll get Drake plus, in this version, I am sporting a little Archaeomancer. Another red creature. So that's going to be a 2/2 with haste. The cohort's going to be able to attack pretty easily. Let's do a little counter spell action. But as I explained in the, going back to what the deck does, which we covered in the deck text slightly, but it's going to set up a loop with Peregrine Drake and Archaeomancer and Ghostly Flicker to net mana and take the game over from there. There's a variety of win conditions that can be brought for some benefit. So here, we're going to run this out. We're actually going to buy back the lightning bolt here. Yeah. Over the course of the next few turns, I'm obviously trying to hit my 5th land drop. Pauper is definitely something in this deck in particular where certain decks are happy operating on 2 lands. Other ones like this one or some of like the Tron decks I've played, mana hungry as they come. So we're going to eat 4 here, go to 9. Our opponent's at 3 cards in hand. Archaeomancer plus Ghostly Flicker creates a kind of a soft lock if we want it to. And then I can chump some creatures here and there. Let's draw another land here. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to cast the Mole Drifter with Evoke here. This is definitely a powerhouse in Pauper that gives you pretty much everything you want. You have a creature that modulates upwards as your mana smooths out. And the earlier game, it cycles for a nice little divination. I think I actually was supposed to attack there with the Archaeomancer. Thought behind that is I'm not really going to block with it with the Ghostly Flickers, but I do have a second one, so I think we'll look at it dealing with a little chump block. So with that kicked, we're going to bolt this character. Yeah. And this is where the deck really starts to come off as kind of the twin variant that I've heard it called, in that you're just playing the early control game until you get into such a position that you're, well, just cards up on your opponent that they can't deal with. I'm going to trade the Archaeomancer here for the Bushwhacker, which is just some good life conservation. At this point, our opponent's 2 cards in hand. So he doesn't have the Fire Blast, or he's just happy waiting. So we're actually going to run out the Drake, get my untap trigger. And now this is where I'm going to show off how little I know about the deck. So I have double Ghostly Flicker. So that would let me net 1 mana, no, net 2 mana. So I can tap 5, net 2, Ghostly Flicker. I think I can go infinite from here. I think that's right, actually. So I'm going to go... Yeah, and then I target a land. So with the Drake trigger on the stack, I get to tap the island again. Then I untap 5 lands. From here, I get to tap for a good portion, go Archaeomancer, buy back Ghostly Flicker. Ghostly Flicker, buy back. And now I get to generate a very large quantity of mana. Get an untap. Eventually, I'll get up to a high enough life total that I can Mole Drifter for a high enough quantity of cards. And this is where I get to do a whole lot of not necessarily commenting. I'm just going to go through my loops here. My hope is that my opponent will, well, he's very likely going to just let me go through the loop and time myself out. Let's see. So we'll just keep on this until we get to enough mana. Let's go through this loop some more. Get the middle card there. There we go. So I don't disagree with our opponent here, forcing us to demonstrate that we have to, you know, untap and tap and untap and tap over and over and over again. I do think that it is a reasonable constraint of Magic Online, but it's definitely something that I would personally concede unless we are looking at a PTQ or Pro Tour situation. But at the same time, like that's a noticeable double standard. I think it's just a better idea to just concede consistently. So yeah, I'd have to say I would just concede in this situation, but not faulting them for wanting us to demonstrate an understanding of all the things we have to do and then complete this over the course of 2 games. Try to get a little faster on this. Start generating a little red mana, not that we need much of any of it. And the trade-off here, our opponent is using up small portions of mana as well. I'm going to slide into a slightly more efficient position here with my F2 key. I am actually a big proponent of clicking a bunch. I think it keeps you mentally aware and ensures that you're not just making. So with both those triggers on the stack, I'll then tap all my mana. Okay. And this is the downside of this deck as far as content's concerned. It is not exactly the most thrilling thing on the market. So once we get through this loop a few more times, we'll be able to get to a position where we're going to draw some extra cards. We're going to get ourselves up to the 20 mana that we need. And we will eventually point some damage at our opponent's face. Actually going to evoke this. When the ability comes into play, we'll then and I think we can now demonstrate that we have a kill. And now it's just the long, slow grind to draw into our actual win condition here. So I was able to cut the loop there, or not in the loop, but get ourselves set up for the second Ghostly Flicker that's in our hand, to use that a little more advantageously. We'll then bolt here, and then we're going to be able to set up a nice one. I realize I'm kind of losing some value in my clock equity here by not staying absolutely on top of things with tapping out first. But I think we're going to be okay. So with Double Drake now, my only real concern is that I will, oops, oh, I'm a dummy. I actually needed to, well, let's hope these Mole Drifters pay off, I guess. And this just shows my inexperience with the deck. So on that loop where I went Double Drake, I actually need to go Drake Archaeomancer to get the cards back. I'm sure I'll bail myself out here. Maybe not, though, and that'll be rightly deserved on the punt. So just remember on your second go-arounds, or your you need to target the Archaeomancer in your loops in order to not just completely throw away your actual ability to I want to target myself here. So in this deck, I have Compulsive as one of the kills. It's a little long form in that it's not always gonna pan out. So we're gonna Drake here. Fully aware that if my opponent untaps and throws a burn spell at us, that I just lost this game on the spot. But I have a feeling that he is probably sitting on something a little less important for us to deal with. I do have okay. We're gonna pass the turnover. Our opponent's probably gonna make us look really silly and win the game on the spot. But that's what I get for trying to get ahead on mana. You know, I have the ability to do that one time. Outside of that, the mana is +2 on the loop. So let's just hope our opponent doesn't have the removal spell or doesn't have the burn spell. Well, even if he does have the burn spell, or doesn't have it this turn, he does get another draw step if I remember correctly. Okay, so he gets that, and then I just need to kill him in 2 turns. Nope, we're just dead. Oh, that's what we get. That's embarrassing. So that second loop, I was supposed to target one and then the other. I'm sure my opponent is cackling away right now because we really just threw that one away. Rightly so. So in this deck, my win condition for those that didn't check out the deck tech is the Karavik Torch. And I am going to be cutting my counter spells. Bringing in some of these bad boys. Yeah, I was really on an outside chance with that last sequence. I had to find the last Ghostly Flicker in the deck or an Archaeomancer early enough to make it count. That was not the case. So I got rightly punished. We'll board in some Hydroblasts for his red spells and then some Dispels for his, you know, burn, Fire Blast, positive, or I feel like it's a common. Apologies for the Pauper lovers if I am completely off there, but I recall that being a card. So let's go to the next game. That was definitely one we were supposed to win, but this is also why we play these games and play them over and over and over again. To figure out how to not click through, or in this case, just blatantly misread what I needed to do there. Yes, I would like to play first. So we're going to be able to go Boilerworks. Okay. We'll keep this even though it's not great. We'll go Forgotten Cave, and I am going to have to be very time efficient here. One thing that I've noticed with Pauper and a lot of the decks that are in existence is you need to be extremely proficient and aware of your clock because it takes a long time to win with the control decks. The Tron decks, you know, kind of whatever it is, you are going to be putting in a lot of clicking and a lot of actions to get to a position that you can win the game. I think it's interesting. I think it really adds another layer to the game that not a lot of people are used to dealing with. And from here, we've got a pretty sweet, if we draw the untapped land, we'll cycle next turn. So if we draw the untapped land, we'll play our Forgotten Cave. And then that'll give us we'll play our Lonely Sandbar, and that'll give us the ability to Forgotten Cave and get in a pretty good position with Cycle plus Hydro. And in this case, we can just go double removal spell. So we've got 4 cards in hand. Yeah, we will Hydroblast that. We're going to Fire Blast this other guy, and this is just all with the understanding that I need to keep my life total nice and high. Put my second blue source in play, pass the turn back over. My concern, and like I was going into prior to explaining the sequence there, Pauper is a time-sensitive format. And one of my favorite things about Magic Online is one of the things that bites me personally, because I play a good amount of Pauper in my spare time. Not going to say I'm great at it. I love mono black. Go Obliette. But sorry, one of the downsides of all of that is that you will time out if you just don't stay exactly on top of the things that you're supposed to. Sequencing your plays in a pretty quick manner, knowing the decisions that matter and the decisions that don't matter. I'm going to take the Boiler Works here, putting the bolt on bottom. We're going to play that. We're going to pick up the Lonely Sandbar. So I am setting myself up into some land destruction here, but I'm not too concerned about it. And we've got a chump blocker for his 1/1. He's got 4 cards in hand. We technically have a nice little Drake sequence next turn. We do not have the Archaeomancer to get us into a really great position, but we do have the Wall of Walls over here. Okay, so he's going to blow that guy up. Can't say I blame him. From here, we're just hoping to draw a card advantage spell, a dig spell of some kind. We have, we technically have like a free Peregrine Drake. Okay, great. So I'm actually going to scry 2 first. The thought there is if I find 2 winners, I'll take them both right now. Top, cycle. So now we're just looking for the Ghostly Flicker. So we'll bottom both of those. 5. So I actually want to get 1 card deeper because we're already set up where we need to go here. I realize I could maintain a Hydroblast advantage there, but I'm cool. Next turn, we can Firebolt one of his creatures if we so desire, which might be a decent time to do that. Really just hoping our opponent feels the need to tap out and doesn't try to interrupt us with okay. So we're in some hurt in here. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11. If we can draw the Ghostly Flicker, we're going to be in good shape. Now you notice there's only 3 in the deck, and from my understanding with that, the deck does a really great job of stabilizing and just kind of staying ahead, and it will find the flicker. Let's see, 4, 5. So I'm actually going to go for a little value Drake action here. Okay. Cast the Mole Drifter, get us another blocker. Right now, these 3 things can't block on the next turn. And 1 more on the red land. That was a mistake. If I draw the removal spell here, I'm going to feel pretty silly. Okay. Yep, or being able to cast Torch here. So if our opponent has another Bushwhacker, we're pretty dead. That's okay. Can't make mistakes and expect to win games. Yeah, I will say I'm having a good time with this. It's definitely just one of those. It's one of those decks though that it feels like you. Okay, so he dashes this, which makes all of those attack, which means I block that and I'm dead. All right, well, aptly punished for our game 1 snafu with the Ghostly Flicker. I would have to say that the The mono red matchup is probably one that's something tough to fight through. It is extremely consistent in what it does, and Drake doesn't get the time to kind of mill around and figure out how to get the cards it needs in its hand. So, yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for watching game one. I promise you, with our other games, we're gonna post up 4 that we're gonna have a good time with this. So I plan on capitalizing, or excuse me, showing that, you know, playing decks, especially new decks of the week, or, you know, in this case, the hot deck of the week, which I think most Pauper players would agree is Peregrine Drake or Drake right now. Anyway, playing those decks the first times through, it's difficult. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to figure things out. You're going to have to, you know, go through some growing pains. But kind of the beauty of Magic Online is you get to do that whenever you want. I work a lot of hours during the week. I'm a student as well, and I love to come home at night and just be able to sit down and jump right into queues. So hopefully you'll be back for game 2, and we will not punt our way out of it.